Okay, we got a new year and new goals. But before we talk about goal setting, and I give you some little tips for ways to set goals and not just set them, but keep them throughout the year, let's talk a little bit about wellness. Normally when we talk about goal setting for a new year, we talk all about the physical. But there are actually 7 dimensions of wellness that I want to mention, and all the spectrums of wellness. You have your goals you can set for any of the spectrums. So we're going to talk about mostly physical today, but there's physical, there's mental wellness, which is so important right now, spiritual, emotional, occupational, environmental, and intellectual. So there's 7 dimensions of wellness, and it's important to just know holistically that we need to be well in all those dimensions in order to be totally well. So we're going to talk about setting goals, and it's important always, but now more than ever, to do things to help put ourselves in a position to be well, in the environment to be well, and the environment to be well physically. So that's intentional. It takes some intentional efforts on our part to do that. So when you're setting goals, and hopefully we all are setting goals all the time, not just in the new year, there are 3 things I want you to keep in mind. When I train clients, or we, our health coaches, we coach clients, they'll give me a list this long of their goals that they want to accomplish, which is great, but it's overwhelming. So number 1, start out small. So you're going to take small bites to a larger picture of what your ultimate goal is. So don't set too many goals. In other words, you want to quit using tobacco, you want to eat healthy, you want to exercise every day, you want to read 10 books a week. That's too much. So you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. So keep the goals small, so small goals to the larger goal, which is extremely important. Number 2, when you're setting goals, make sure you write them down, because you're solidifying what's in your mind to your heart and to action. So solidify those by writing them down. And when I say write them down, you can stick them on the fridge somewhere where it's visible for you, a visible reminder of what you've decided you want to do. When writing those goals, make sure that you write down what you want to achieve, not what you want to avoid. In other words, let's think about, you might say, I want to avoid sugar for the next year. Instead of writing it like that, you could say, I want to eat 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. See how that kind of switches your mindset? Or I want to read, I don't want to watch any more TV. That's negative. What about, I want to read 2 books a week, 2 books a month? That just kind of shifts your mindset from what not to do to what to do. And lastly, another tip for setting goals, you got to make them measurable. Because if you don't make your goals measurable, then how do you know you've accomplished them? So we've got to measure. What gets measured gets improved. So measure your goals. And here's an acronym that I have found over the years, by far, has worked better for my clients and myself than anything else. So it's called SMART. S-M-A-R-T. So first is the S, and it's specific. We can't be vague about our goals. I have a lot of people say, well, I want to, I want to run a 5K or a 10K. Well, you don't start out running it tomorrow. So it's a little step. So you might say, be specific. I want to walk a mile every day for the next 5 days. See the difference? The difference is the specificity of what you're going to do to achieve this goal out here. Second, S-M-M, measurable. We talked about that, and I just gave you an example of I want to be able to walk a mile 1 day a week for the next week. So make that measurable. If it's for food, you can say I want to get my 7 to 9 servings 3 days this week, and then 4 days, and so forth and so on. S-M-A, attainable, and that's so important because everybody has these lofty goals, which are great, but are they attainable for you? If you work, you have children, if you're working from home now especially, you've got all these other distractions. Are you going to be able to attain that goal? So attainability is so important. And I will say to people that if they want to run a 5K or a 10K, let's start here, and then 6 months from now we're here. So it's short-term goals to a longer term goal. So S-M-A-R, realistic. So be realistic too, and relevant. So that can be realistic or relevant. I tend to think realistic's a better term for me and for my clients, because you go to the gym and you see somebody else doing something, or if we're talking about mental wellness, you see somebody else handling their stress so well, and you're thinking, why can't I do that? I'm stressed out. Well, it's a strategy, and it's a small step. So make it relevant to your situation. So SMART is time bound, and that's so important. And it's great too to work with a coach or someone to help you realize Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't lose 10 pounds a week. You know, it's a slow is the way to go. And that's what I tell my clients is don't overestimate or underestimate what it takes to burn a calorie, you know, or a pound of fat. That's 3,500 calories. That's a lot of calories you have to deficit in a week's time in order to lose a pound, if that's your goal. So make them time bound, which is extremely important when you're setting goals. So SMART, that's my recommendation if you're setting new goals for a new year. In any of the dimensions, spectrums of wellness, this will work. But write it down, solidify it, think about your why. Why do I want to do this? I think that engages the heart and the emotions. You know, my why is well, I like to feel better. I like mental release, but also I have grandchildren and I want to be there and be active for them. So identify your why, and that'll also keep you on track.